1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody good? Adam, you good? Anybody need a white balance? Neil, you need a white balance? Oh, I got one. You got one?
Everybody hear me? Everybody good? All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. You ready to get started? I'm Sheriff Mark Moon from the Blount County Sheriff's Office. The reason for this press conference today is to discuss the investigation of the homicide that took place yesterday in the Hayden area, which was at 151 Harris Road. What we actually believe is we believe that the crime actually took place somewhere in the hours between 8:30 and 9:30 in the morning. When we received the phone call, the actual 911 call came to us, or came through the 911 center around 10:50 a.m. Deputies responded along with Hayden Police Department. When deputies got on the scene and realized the situation, they immediately began calling for investigators, supervisors, which most everyone that was here responded very quickly, and we're very thankful for their response. However, what they did find when they got there was more tragic news, and I was thinking about this today. I know I've already said this to you guys probably 100 times since I've been sheriff, but eventually one day I would really love to stand here and talk about something good. But I guess the nature of my job, as well as the nature of your jobs, is putting the news out no matter what it is. And so this again is tragic news coming from Blount County. We deputies, when they got on the scene, is that better? When deputies got on the scene, what they found was tragic, and they found Mr. James Paul Eastis, who had been shot multiple times. He was a bond recovery agent. Deputies found him deceased inside the residence with gunshots to his upper body area. Throughout the initial part of the investigation, initial part of the process, we found that we had a suspect, and forgive me if I mispronounce, I'm going to try my best, but his name is Francisco Senecio Alvarez. And the reason that Mr. Eastis was there is there was a crime that was committed in a different county back in October. This bonding agency had bonded him out, and for some reason, unbeknownst to us at this point, they were coming off of his bond, and so that's why Mr. Eastis was there, was to take him into custody and to come off of his bond. The suspect, Mr. Alvarez, resisted, and when he resisted, he shot him with a rifle that we believe to be a .223 or a AR style rifle, and shot him multiple times and then fled the scene. The weapon that was suspected in this murder was not found at the residence at that time. There were other firearms in the house, multiple firearms inside the house, multiple shell casings from not just from our shooting, but from several different instances of different weapons being fired at the residence with all different calibers. So there were multiple firearms in the house. But what we believe, and what we have just through our evidence at this point, believe it was the .223 or a .556 caliber round or rounds that Mr. Eastis was struck by. We deputies began to canvass the area, ask neighbors if they had seen or heard anything, ask if they had any cameras, doorbell cameras, security cameras, anything that we could look at to take in for evidence. And as they were canvassing the area, they had spoke to someone on the scene who advised that there was a vehicle that was missing, and it was, if you remember the picture from yesterday, it was that light blue color and silver or light in color Ford F-150. It was missing from the residence. We were able to, once we were inside the residence securing evidence, we were able to find a way to be able to pull some footage from days past. The day of the incident was not recorded, but we were able to find a picture of the truck, get a picture of the tag, and that's how we were able to begin to start putting out information about the suspect vehicle and begin to look in our systems to see if we could find where the suspect may have gone anytime during that day. We looked at screenshots. We were able to take screenshots of the home security camera system. We found that vehicle. We found that tag number. And we were able to, thankfully, be able to utilize traffic cameras on Highway 160 as well as on the interstates. And we had found where he had approximately had hit a camera on 160 around 9:44 yesterday morning. At approximately 10:15, 10:16 that morning, the last time that vehicle was spotted on any traffic cameras was actually seen on Spalding Ishkuta Road, and it was heading west. At that point, we began just putting out the BOLO for every single agency around close by. We were able to get some really good assistance from some neighboring law enforcement agencies, and they were actively looking for our offender and for the vehicle. After several attempts of trying to locate this vehicle, finally late last night, or actually early this morning, we were able to locate that vehicle, and it was in that area of the Galilee Missionary Baptist Church on Carver Avenue in West Birmingham. Once we located that vehicle, we were able to use some other means that law enforcement has to be able to try to detect what direction he may have traveled, because the vehicle was empty. There was a firearm inside the vehicle that we believe could possibly be our murder weapon, but until all the forensics and all of the evidence is processed, we won't know with certainty. But we do believe that that weapon could possibly be our murder weapon. It was left inside the vehicle, and it was locked, but we were able to go canvass that area as well, knocking on doors, talking to neighbors, asking if they'd seen that truck or if they'd seen anybody get in and out of that area. And after speaking to residents knocking on doors, people being very kind and allowing us to come in and check their residences. We were telling them about what we were looking for and to be very careful and very watchful to make sure that they were paying attention to their surroundings, and if they saw anything out of place or peculiar, to not try to approach them, but to call 911 and let law enforcement know immediately. Multiple residents in that area were talked to. People were contacted, and we believe that that vehicle was parked at that church. It was found in that church parking lot. We believe it was parked there sometime after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. That is, from what we have gathered from the neighbors in that area, the earliest that anybody saw that truck parked at that church was around 5 o'clock or sometime thereafter. Our investigators, along with the U.S. Marshals and other law enforcement agencies, they began to really take in all of the leads and all of the evidence that we had. And at approximately 3 a.m., after everything that we had been exhausted with no luck of being able to find our suspect, we came back to the office and kind of put our heads together, talked about a new plan to start today. Most of us are extremely exhausted after getting in very, very early this morning and then getting up early again today to go back at it. We were able to recover the vehicle. We did that. We brought it to our secure area here at the Sheriff's Office. We went through the legal process to get search warrants to be able to get into it, to be able to document the evidence, to collect evidence inside that vehicle, and that is ongoing as we speak. We are still collecting that evidence and still processing that evidence. So here's what we knew early. We knew that he had fled the area, that he was not in the immediate community of Blount County that the crime happened in. We knew that our area was not in current danger because we knew, based off of the evidence that we had collected, that he had left our area and was traveling away from Blount County. With him being mobile, however, we were very cautious, and we wanted to make sure that everybody knew exactly what to be looking for. And we also knew that there was a very slim but a possibility that he might come back to the residence. And so what we did is we chose at that point to notify the public, to let everybody know that a serious crime had happened, a shooting had happened. We put out the pictures of the vehicle. Then once we were able to name a suspect, we were able to get pictures of our suspect, put those pictures out to let people know who to be looking for and what they might be driving. And I just want to remind everybody, we don't control the actions of suspects. We don't know what they're going to do. If he would have came back, whatever situation might have happened, however he left, wherever he went, we just wanted to let the public know that what was going on, to be very aware, to be watchful, and to call in anything suspicious or out of the ordinary, and to have the pictures of our suspect, to have the pictures of the vehicle. That way they could be looking out and be our eyes on the street, if you will, looking out for our suspect. Few things that I wanted to address. A couple of things was, we had a lot of questions about why certain things were not initially put out in our first statement. Why did we not put out everything in our first statement? Well, here's the main reason. We had a very tragic a very tragic incident where a man lost his life. A man who has a family. And I don't know about anybody else, but I just don't feel like family finding out about the loss or a death of a loved one is appropriate to find that out on social media or through a news outlet. We like to do those face-to-face to tell people so that we can try to, love on them and encourage them and tell them that we're going to do everything we can. And that's what we're doing. We're doing everything that we can to find this suspect. We don't release everything. It's important to understand that the reason we don't initially release, again, just reiterating, the reason we didn't initially release the victim's name is because we wanted to stand in front of that family and tell them what had happened without them having to find out on Facebook or some social media platform or through legitimate media platforms. It's just human decency that we do those things. We're not doing that in an attempt to try to hide information from anyone. We did know that we had a shooter who was not in custody, and we wanted to get him in custody. But we also knew he was not on the scene. and that it was going to be a process of trying to locate him. And so during active manhunts or active hunts of suspects, if we share information to the public, every single detail of everything we're doing, then we're basically showing our cards and giving everything that we know, and it gives our person that we're looking for a heads up, a look behind the curtain, if you will, to know what we're doing. And we want to have as much tactical advantage. We want to have as much of a possibility to be able to get ahead of them as we can. And so if we're giving out every minutia detail, and you know as well as I do, they're looking at Facebook, they're watching the news, they're watching those things as well. And when they see those things, then they can have the opportunity to stay a step ahead of us. And we want to try to do everything we can to grab our suspect and not give them the chance to get away. They have an advantage if they know what we're doing. And they can also adjust. If they see that we're close and we're getting close, they can adjust and they can change what they're doing, or they could dig in somewhere and entrench themselves into a place, prepare to fight where more people could get hurt or killed. So we must capitalize on their mistakes. That is important for us. We have to hope and pray and expect them to get frantic, to expect them to get nervous, to expect them to make horrible decisions other than the one that they already made for the reason that we're chasing them. And then that's when we want to capitalize on those mistakes. If we give them everything we know, then they have the advantage. We put out our early request, the warning, the BOLO yesterday, due to the fact that he was mobile, and we had no idea at that point where he was at other than just a few places that he had hit some traffic cameras and a vague direction of where he was going. And we knew that it was unlikely that he would attempt to come home or attempt to come back to the residence. However unlikely it may have been, we still didn't want to say it was with 100% certainty that it wouldn't happen. So we wanted everyone to be aware and know what to be looking for and to call us as soon as they saw something, because he may have come back to try to swap vehicles. There was multiple vehicles at the residence, and he could have attempted to try to come back and get in a different vehicle. As the sheriff and as a law enforcement agency, we understand people want to know. Again, we're not trying to hide information. We're just trying to do the very best we can to apprehend a murder suspect. Our most important thing in this investigation is to secure all evidence, to secure our suspect so that we can get a criminal conviction. We don't want to give away things. We don't want to put anybody else in harm's way. We always want to share information. We always want to let the public know what's going on. However, capturing a murder suspect is our number one priority here. It's a far greater priority than just basically feeding people's curiosities. Absolutely, if the public's in danger, we are going to put out that information to let them know that there is a public threat. We're going to let people know that a danger exists, a threat exists, and we're going to ask them to take precautions to mitigate those risks and to protect themselves and their families. But at no time are we ever going to compromise our efforts to bring in, to arrest, and to bring to justice a murder suspect. That is our number one priority. We'll always give as much information as we can once it's safe and reasonable to do so, which is what we have done. I'm very thankful for Sergeant Paul and all of his efforts through social media, for reaching out to you guys through our website to put out information as we get it, and to release information only whenever it's appropriate to release that information, because, like I said, we just want to try to do our best to protect evidence, to protect the case itself, but also to give us a leg up. My staff and my investigators, they really have worked diligently to gather every single piece of evidence they can, whether it be physical evidence or anything that they can to put together a good case to bring in our suspect. We stayed out late. Like I said, it was 3:30 at least before I was able to pull in my driveway. But we all stayed out. My department, the U.S. Marshals, there were agencies in Jefferson County that helped us, state agencies, federal agencies that were pouring into us, trying to do whatever they could to help us. They also stayed out late, working, doing everything we could. So I'm very thankful for those law enforcement agencies that helped us. I'm extremely thankful for the hard work of my deputies, the investigators, who jumped into action immediately and was really unwilling to stop until we came to a place that we really just couldn't go any further at that time. Now, we did gather back up this morning, put together a new plan, and those guys are, as we speak, processing evidence, putting together plans of action to try to locate our suspect, and we want to locate him quickly. We want to do the very best we can. Again, thankful for the U.S. Marshals, thankful for the federal agencies that are also doing, using electronic means of gathering evidence and trying to interview, informants or people who might have some information, witnesses, neighbors, people who might have seen him, all those types of things to gather evidence to try to locate him and do so as quickly as we possibly can. Like I said, we're pretty exhausted, but we're not going to quit. We will continue to do everything we can until our suspect is in custody. In closing, I just want to say thank you to my staff who responded quickly. Man, they worked together so well on the scene, working together. It was almost seamless watching them and seeing them process the scene. They were very professional. They were very systematic in their work, making sure that they documented and diagrammed and detailed every piece of evidence, evidence that's crucial to our case. And again, evidence that's being processed as we speak. I also want to thank the U.S. Marshals. I want to thank Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Birmingham Police Department. There's so many agencies. I know I'm leaving them off, and I apologize. I'm exhausted. But there are so many people that responded to our BOLO, responded to our request, jumped into action to help us. With that said, we are still requesting help from the citizens. We are asking for the public to help us. If they see this suspect, go look at our website, go look at our Facebook page, see what this man looks like. See if you know him, if you know anybody who knows him, if you know any place he could go. Please, there is no little bit of information that will not be looked into. We are actively seeking after our suspect. And finally, I just want to offer my prayers and my condolences to the Eastis family. I just absolutely can't tell you today how they feel because I don't know, but I do know they are broken, and I do know that they are hurting, and I do know that they want justice, and that is absolutely what we want. We want to seek after our suspect to bring him to justice for that family, to try to help, if at least in the smallest way, to ease some of their suffering. And I know there will never be anything that will replace the loss of their husband and their father, but I just want the Eastis family to know how much we love them and are supporting them, to reach out to us if you need anything with any questions that you may have, and I promise you we will not stop until we bring our suspect to justice. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, you mentioned that the car was found in West Birmingham. Do you still believe the suspect is in the Birmingham area? And if so, do you believe he's getting help from anyone to evade law enforcement?
We believe that he was in that area for a period of time. We don't have anything to prove exactly that he may still be in that area based off the doors that we knocked on, the houses that we went to. But it is very possible because he obviously left the vehicle there, which means when he left, he either had somebody come pick him up, so that would answer the question to him possibly being helped. And we do have a couple of people that we may suspect could have some information, and I promise you those leads are not going unturned. And we are digging into that in any way that we possibly can, not just through asking them questions, but other means that law enforcement uses. And so we are, he could very well be moved on from there, but we do believe he could possibly be receiving some assistance.
Sheriff Moon, what areas are being checked and searched right now?
So as of right now, I'm not going to go into detail on that because I don't want to give away what we're doing. But we do have, again, continuing to work with the U.S. Marshals who have been fantastic and are helping us, sharing information with us, working side by side with us on the front lines. But I'm not going to say where we're at exactly because I don't want our suspect to know until we're putting him in handcuffs.
Your office believes that this happened between 8:30 and 9:30 yesterday morning, but that call didn't come out
So that's correct. The Mr. Eastis was doing his job, and by the time the murder took place, and by the time he was found by people who came to the house to look for our suspect, because our suspect was working for some local people. He didn't show up to work. Those local people went to his house to see if he was sick or if he needed a ride, if there was something going on. And when they got to the house, they found our Mr. Eastis in the residence, and that's when they called 911.
Do you know what the original crime was that he committed back in October in the other county?
Yeah, so the only thing that I do know, and there may be more, so if there is more, I apologize if I don't have that information, but what I do know is that the October of 25 case that the bonding agency was coming off of was a certain person prohibited to possess firearm. And obviously he was in violation of that because he still had multiple firearms in the house.
Do you know what county? Are you able to share that?
I believe the Bibb County, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I apologize if that's wrong, but I'm almost positive it's Bibb County.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else in the home at the time where this shooting took place that you guys are aware of?
We're not 100% certain, only because by the time we got there, the people who found Mr. Eastis were the only ones there. There was nobody else in the house when we got there, and the people who found him did not find anybody else there.
Are you aware of family that the suspect may have
Yes.
around that are possibly you think they may be involved in helping him evade law enforcement?
Maybe. We're looking into it.
And his truck was found at a church. Can you say the name of the church again?
Yes, it was Galilee Missionary Baptist Church on Carver Avenue, Southwest Birmingham. And please hear me out. This church absolutely has nothing to do with this. This is just where he ditched his vehicle. So please don't go to that church and video that church. The truck's not there, okay? We have the truck. There's no sense in y'all going piling up, and I don't mean to offend anybody. It's just to try to protect that church and to help that church to understand we're not blaming them for anything. They had no role in this. That's just where he dumped the vehicle. So out of respect for that church, please just understand that that's just where he dumped it, and that's where we pulled it from, and there's nothing else there to see.
I know you said you talked to residents in that area by the church. Did the church have any security cameras?
We didn't see any, but we were going to be in contact with them today, see if they might have something that we couldn't physically see from the outside.
You said that the victim was found inside the home.
That's correct.
The suspect. What reason do you have to believe that he was inside?
To affect the arrest of the suspect.
Was there any signs of forced entry or anything like that?
No, I don't believe there's any signs of that.
What level of threat do you think Alvarez poses to the public right now?
So, that's a fantastic question. I don't think he poses a significant threat to the public. However, he did commit murder. And we believe that he could possibly still be armed. Even though we found, and we have to assume that he is armed. Even though we found a firearm in the truck, we don't know what there were multiple firearms at the residence. So he could have had a handgun on him. He could have had another rifle in the truck. We don't know that for a fact. We do know we found one firearm in the truck, but cannot guarantee or verify that there were any other firearms in his possession or in that vehicle. So we just urge the public, understand, if you see this person, treat him as if he is armed and very dangerous, and do not approach him. Do not try to intervene. Call 911. Tell the 911 dispatcher what you're seeing. You believe that this is the person that the Blount County Sheriff's Office is looking for, and they will send the appropriate law enforcement agency to where you are.
Would you be able to spell the victim's name?
I will do yes, I can spell it correctly. I may not be able to say it correctly, but I can spell it. His first name would be Francisco, F-R-A.
The victim.
I apologize.
That's okay.
James Paul Eastis. James and Paul, common spelling, Eastis, E-A-S-T-I-S.
Thank you so much.
And could you talk a little bit, Sheriff, about, I know I keep asking about it, but if someone is aiding him, that is a crime as well.
Absolutely. And they will, if we find that someone is assisting him, then they will absolutely be brought to justice as well.
Anything else you want to add, Sheriff?
Just want to remind Blount County that, we ask you to just continue to be very